It has been switched back and forth what sort of tower this is, but currently it shoots a fireball that does splash damage to enemies. Its range is about 3 enemies next to each other, so yeah, you can, if you think enemies coming in like next to each other, you might shoot about maybe 6 of them with one fireball. It does fire damage, and yeah, that's what it does. It's your basic fireball tower. It does splash damage, and yeah, it has an ability that you can give the apprentice that lets you shoot 2 fireballs instead of 1, which might make you kill down bigger lanes of enemies faster. Yeah, over to Arcane Barrier. This is a wall, but it's also not a wall. To say it this way, the way Arcane Barrier works is that every time enemies hit it, it might go down for a while, and what happens is that the enemies hits the wall, and when quite a bit of damage is taken, the tower explodes, doing the same damage that was done to the enemies around, and dealing quite a massive amount of damage actually. Then the tower goes underground, and the enemies can walk past the tower, past the wall. By doing this, the wall will, for one, last longer, but on the other hand, enemies will get past the tower, the wall, and can attack the other towers. So the way Arcane Barrier works, you will most likely put multiple in a row to stop enemies, or you might put an Arcane Barrier in front, then a spike wall, so you can so the walls will protect last longer, to say that way. Frostbite Tower is your slowing tower, and right now at least I'm pretty sure it doesn't do any damage anymore, so it only slows the enemies. It doesn't cost very much defense units, so it's worth it in quite a few situations. Combine this with Geysir Tower, something that makes the enemies wet, and the enemies will be frozen solid. And if you combine it with Geysir Tower, the enemy will be shut up, frozen, and fall down to the ground and shatter. So yeah, even though it doesn't do much damage, it's an instant kill if they get frozen in the air. Then you have the Earth-Shatter Tower, which is a very long range tower. It does splash damage to enemies far away, pretty much the same as the long range tower from Dungeon Defenders 1, but it has to be in line of sight to be used. Over to abilities. You have Arcane Volley, which shoots at nearby enemies that you have marked. To mark them you use basic attack. Tornado, it blows enemies up into the air and does extra damage to marked enemies. Mana Bomb is the same as in Dungeon Defenders 1, massive damage as a splash AoE around the caster, so massive damage. And then you have this heal self skill again. Last but not least, you have the Square. Just before that, Apprentice is your magic damage dealer, and Square is your physical damage dealer. Some enemies is weak to magical damage, and some enemies is weak to physical damage. So you will almost always want to have at least an Apprentice and a Squire inside the game to build for you. Okay, first introducing Cannonbolt Er, which shoots cannonballs at enemies. It does quite a lot of physical damage to the enemy, but all in all it works the same way as Fireball Tower, that it shoots a projectile onto the enemy. It doesn't work like the old Cannonbolt Tower from Dungeons of Enders 1, but it works like you shoot a cannon like from a cannon, to say it that way. Next you have the Spike Blockade, which works yeah, pretty much the exact way as in Dungeons of Enders 1. It protects it protects the lane by putting up a wall, and it also deals damage back to the enemies that attacks it. Third we have the Ballista, which does pierce damage to enemies in a lane. So in a long lane and with a straight line with far line of sight, Ballista is by far the best turret to use, though it does less damage for every enemy hit. Training dummy is it works like a spinning wheel which hits all enemies in range. It can take a lot of damage, but it's nice to taunt the enemies away from other stuff. So for example, putting it close to an edge or away from the towers, so enemies will go to that one first, is a good way to avoid that your towers goes down too fast. It might save you sometimes, but yeah, not my favorite tower, to say it that way. For being the last tower that you get, it's quite useless really. Go to the abilities. You have the Sword Beam, which is a ranged beam that you can shoot at enemies. A Provoke, which provokes enemies. They will attack you. Combine this with the skills passives you can get, and your towers might deal more damage to these, or yeah, different boost this way. Next you have a Seismic Slam, which deals AoE damage and stuns nearby enemies. And of course, last but not least, you have Heal Self. Of these characters, I will myself start with Huntress, I think, because of the Blaze Balloon. Doing multiplayer games lets you team up together to get stuff done, so I don't have to think too much about walls. The walls I currently have is Arcane Barrier for Apprentice and Spike Blockade for Square. What new players should do is to choose either Apprentice or Square to get walls. Apprentice can be a bit harder since the Arcane Barrier goes down and you will not be used to this. So yeah, to say it this way, starting class, Square would be easy, Apprentice would be normal, Huntress would be hard, and Monk would be very hard. Or rather, Monk would be completely impossible. Huntress would be possible, but it can be quite hard to do the explosive trap one, at least solo. If you go in co-op in a 4-player game, then you will most likely be able to win, even though no one puts down towers at all in the start, actually. But solo it can be quite hard without a wall in the start. Though then again you start with only the first tower, and at level 3, which is after the first game, you get the next one. So you won't have a wall on anyone, but the best towers to start with is Flame Burst and Cannonball, because you can kill down all the enemies with this. Explosive Trap, enemies will avoid it, and Lightning Aura just don't do enough damage to actually work in the start. As long as the enemies can walk past it, it doesn't help out really much. Okay, then I'll creating my hero now. Let's see, what name? Yeah, my two usual usernames is Nolmar and Medora, so I'll go for Medora then. And here we can see the big tavern, what everyone has been wanting for so long. Okay, sorry, looking at the time, it might be time to end this video. So I'll be ending it here as the introduction to the different heroes. In the next one I will go through the tavern and show you the different stuff in it. And Yeah, we'll also go a bit into the specs for the heroes, so you can see the different things the heroes will have.